Let's spend a moment on the contradictions between the time when he served in a socialist era as chief economic advisor from 1972 to 76, as RBI governor from 82 to 85, and then as finance minister from 91 onwards when he becomes a champion of free trade. The point would be that under a more socialist regime, he kept his free trade instincts at bay, and therefore was he an economist and also therefore an opportunist in that regard?
The distinction there, Rahul, is he was absolutely clear why he was hired and what is the job that he had to do. And that clarity very often is lacking in my tribe. He was hired as chief economic advisor to solve a problem of very high inflation. He was not hired to deliver prosperity to the Indian economy. He did that with a team very successful. He was not hired to speak contrary to the prevailing political ideology of the day. And therefore, he did not, which was, protectionism, no free trade, etc. But in 1991, when his job demanded that he embrace free trade to save India from an existential crisis, he did it. It is not as if he was a rabid free marketer. He repeatedly said that India will have to have a public sector and a private sector that coexists. However, he had realized that India could no longer afford the luxury of no free trade, of high amounts of industrial licensing, and the rent-seeking and corruption that came with that. So he opened up the economy to good effect. And he was non-doctrinal enough to understand that India being treated like a nuclear pariah was one of the biggest obstacles to India's transformative prosperity. And therefore, he put his political capital there, and he managed to get the nuclear deal at least signed, if not fully implemented. And that actually showed his results-oriented approach. And that is what you want from an unelectable prime minister. You want an effective policy practitioner who is results-oriented. And he has given us enough examples in his lifetime of achieving and delivering those successful results. So it doesn't really matter whether he was pro-free trade or anti-free. It's not like, are you pro-Hindutva, do you like Muslims or not? That is not how economics works. You have a job to do, you go out there and do it in the circumstances of your time, and in that respect, he did it very well, and he had no pretensions. He had no pretensions to being a politician. If you read Sanjay Baru's book, he says that. He says, I do not want to get political credit. I want to get credit for doing the job that I did do, and I don't want people going around saying it's all due to the great Honorable Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. He had a very big ego in short, which is what is woefully lacking today.
His career was also a technocrat's dream. So many different capacities across so many decades in different parts of government, and then ultimately rising to the apex of becoming prime minister. For young technocrats looking at the murky world of Indian politics, A, he was able to attract excellent talent, and B, what do you think is the legacy that he leaves behind? Because was it just a lot of luck and opportunity that came at the right moment? Ultimately, the job of finance minister was offered to Patel before it was offered to Manmohan Singh. IG Patel refused, which is why he came in. So is this just a lot of happenstance and coincidence and good luck?
No, I don't think so. But to the extent, yes, India was a newly evolving independent country. It was therefore possible in those days to appoint a chief economic advisor who was just 40 years old. I remember him once saying to me many years later that a chief economic advisor should never be older than 50. Because if you understand how the finance ministry works, the chief economic advisor may hold the rank of secretary to government, but they only run one division in the Department of Economic Affairs. And therefore, you can't have ego hassles with the IAS who basically run the government of India. So if you're 40, 42, you don't have those ego hassles. If you have the great gift of being able to listen to a politician and persuade them to do something that you want done, which he had in spades, then I think that is a huge mark of success. So what I would tell technocrats is leave the econometrics, etc. to university professors and plumbers. You can hire them. Learn from him how to be results focused, understand why you have a particular job and what it is you need to do to deliver results in that job, just like any other job, and then apply your skills to build teams to do that job without expecting to be treated like a politician with their own political base and power. What he teaches, I think, all policy practitioners is our kicks in life are different. His kicks in life are very different from Narendra Modi's. His kicks in life do not come from the adulation of the masses or any kind of brown-nosing or, being called a Vishwa Guru or great scholar. His kicks in life came from doing a job and doing it well, completing and finishing it. That requires political skills, that requires analytical abilities, that requires ability to build and lead teams. And these are the skills I think that policy practitioners going forward need to have in spades, and what we can all learn from him is how to get them. Was he an opportunist? Did he play games? Yes, of course he did. Politics is a dirty business, as is the business of policy. It's a dog-eat-dog profession. But he had a very positive attitude to it, which I'd like to share. One day, he asked somebody, I think it was either Montek or somebody else in the 90s, to do something. No, it was in the RBI in the 80s. Three or four people were asked to do something. The next morning, he had come with a paper where that thing was done. Another economist asked him, why didn't you do it? We were all asked to do it. He said, you should never yield space. When you're given a chance to do something and you can do it, then occupy that space and do it well so you're recognized. So in that very positive sense, he did not yield space to others, but you will never find anyone grudging him that, because he was generous with his credit, and many who worked with him, unlike many who followed those who worked with him, rose to positions of great eminence and capability in the fullness of time.